Hi, boys and girls. I'm back for another math lesson today. We're going to continue talking about fractions. Today, we're going to talk about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that represent the whole part of a whole. And if you'll notice, the word equivalent has that EQU at the beginning, like in the word equal. So equivalent means that they are equal to each other. So we're going to fill in a few boxes on this next page that will help you understand fractions that are equivalent a little bit better. Equivalent, as I said, means equal. Equivalent fractions are the same size. They cover the same area of a whole and are the same point on a number line, which we'll talk about that last part more in detail a different day, not as much today. So if we look at the next slide, it says equivalent fractions. The fractions listed below are equivalent because they represent the same amount. So a half is equal to or equivalent to 2/4. And that will make more sense when we look at the picture in the next slide. So here's a half, and here is 2/4. The main difference is in this first circle, the shape is partitioned into 2 equal pieces. In the second circle, the shape is partitioned into 4 equal pieces. If you notice, the yellow section and the pink section are equal to each other. They've just divided this second circle into more pieces. So we would say they're equivalent to each other. So to practice that a little bit, you're going to do a slide like this for practice work today. So you're going to look at this piece, and the first one is figuring out how many pieces are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in this little spot, we will put an 8. And then since we know that there are already 8 pieces, I can keep counting the white ones, 9, 10. So out of 10, so 8/10 is equivalent to, and you're going to look down here at the bottom and see if you can find some shaded pieces that match and look the same as this. And I'm going to teach you a little trick on how to figure out if they're equivalent. So on this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 shaded pieces, which goes in the numerator. The denominator is the bottom piece, which is 5. And you can always check to see if they're equivalent by doing this little trick. You cross multiply, so 10 times 4 would be 40. And 5 times 8 would be 40, so they are equivalent. So you're going to continue the same way. On this one, you have 2 pieces that are shaded. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2/6. And we're going to look for a piece down here that is similar and has it shaded the same amount. If we spun this one around, it would match up with this. And there is 1 piece shaded, so 1, oops. And there's 3 total pieces, which goes in the denominator. So 1/3 and 2/6. And we'll check it to make sure. If we multiply across, we multiply 6 times 1 equals 6, and 3 times 2 equals 6. So they are equivalent. That's how we check and make sure. So I'm going to just show you one more on that sample, and we're going to keep moving on. Again, we have 2 pieces that are shaded. That's our numerator. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2/8. And we're going to look down here and find one that is equivalent to that shaded section, which is right here. We have 1 piece that is shaded, so I'm going to put a 1. And there are 4 total pieces, so that goes in our denominator. So 2/8 is equal to or equivalent to 1/4. And we check that by cross multiplying. 8 times 1 is 8, and 4 times 2 is 8. So you will continue to do that on your slide as well. Then another way you can do this is, it says another way to check for equivalency is by making fraction models, which these are the fraction models below. So we have 2/3, 4/6, and 8/12. So it says fill in the tables below to represent equivalent fractions. So we click on this box, and then if you go up here and click this little paint can, you'll do that, and you can choose any color you want. And then I'm going to do it again. So now we have 2 out of the 3 bars that are shaded. You're going to do the same thing with 4/6. So I'm going to go up and choose a color. I'm going to choose purple this time, and I'm going to go ahead and just highlight 4 bars. And I'm going to choose that purple again. So now, if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 6 that are shaded. And then one more we're going to choose. Let's do yellow this time. And we're going to shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that has 8/12. And if you notice, they all line up together. They are all equivalent. And if we brought 2/3 down here by 4/6 and multiplied them, 6 times 2 would equal 12, and 3 times 4 would equal 12. So we would know that they are equivalent. So then you're going to do a little bit more practice on a sheet that looks like this. Basically, you're going to take this little box that says 6/8. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8 that they've colored in. You need to figure out how many fourths it's going to take to be equivalent or equal to those 6/8. And so you simply move the color up here, and then you're going to drag it until the lines are equal with each other on the bars like they were in our first slide that I showed you. And so if you look, we have 1, 2, 3 fourths. So that's what you would type in the boxes. 3 for our numerator, which is the top number, 4 for our denominator, which is the bottom number. So again, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8/12 that they have shaded in. You're going to move this one up here, this color, and you're going to stretch it out until it's the same shape or length as the one above it. And how many thirds did it take? There's 1/3, 2/3. So 2 over 3, 2/3. And again, you can cross multiply to check. 3 times 8 is 24. 12 times 2 is 24. And let's do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/10. We're going to move this purple square up and stretch it out till it's the same length and size. And how many halves did it take? Only one, right? So 1 over 2. And again, we can cross multiply to make sure. 10 times 1 is 10, and 2 times 5 is 10. And then this just shows you what I was talking about when you cross multiply, and we just did this. 10 times 1 would be 10, and 5 times 2 would be 10. So they are equivalent or equal to each other. You could put either one. So hopefully you get to practice this a little bit and you'll understand it more. Just remember to look, the pieces have to be the same, equal shape and size to be equivalent. And make sure to cross multiply to check and make sure that you get the same answer and the same product or answer for your multiplication problem.